It's another day, Day Burnout series, and today the topic is seeking support. Five key benefits of reaching out to people. One of the things that I've noticed about burnout is it's often with people who are givers. Now the thing is, we're not designed to be alone, right? But we're mammals with a genuine need for connection and community, right? So there's statistics that prove this. The ones which have the best connection over through age often end up being the oldest. Like I can't remember what the city is, but my favorite is there's one in Japan. Um, and one of the reasons they say is one, because they keep active, they keep doing the things they love to do, but two is that they're also in community, right? So why is it that we isolate when things get hard? And I've actually thought about this quite a lot. And I think everyone has their own reason. But I've noticed that when things do become tough, we withdraw, we hide into ourselves, our social battery becomes low, and then we try and deal with things ourselves, and that can cause even more problems. You might have experienced this. People might have said to you, like, why didn't you come to me when you were experiencing this? How would you feel if I didn't come to you with something like that? Or why did you do this to yourself? Depending on what kind of people you have around you, they might feel almost offended that you didn't come to them. And then it's in those moments that you have to ask yourself a few things. One, maybe you're ashamed of needing help because it's not who you are. Like that might be an identity situation. You wonder to yourself, am I the kind of person who reaches out for help? And that may be something that you realize that through history, you've never put yourself in a position to need help. Right. And it's good to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's good to explore that, because if it's a situation where you're hindering your own progress by not reaching out with help, it might be worth looking at why that is. Maybe you don't want to burden others, um, though helping others is never something that burdens you. All right. I've heard that a lot. Like, I don't want to be a burden to other people, but you never consider it a burden when they come to you because you look at it as an opportunity for you to help people. Have you ever considered that by not reaching out to people in your time of need, you're not giving people the option to be able to be there for you, which means that when you do need help, you feel like there's no one to go to. And when that happens, we feel even more alone, and even we go even more recluse as a result. Or maybe you don't think people can handle your vulnerability, even though you've never showed it to them. One moment. What perfect timing. One of the things I do is I set alarms to help me with my time, um, to make sure I have enough time for myself. And I find that to be a really important part of my burnout recovery, is giving time for myself and actually putting it in as part of my daily structure. So one of the last thing I mentioned was maybe you don't think people can handle your vulnerability, though you never showed it to them. How do you know they can't handle it if you've never showed it to them at all? Right. So the thing is, they say a problem shared is a problem halved, but I feel like as givers, we don't necessarily believe that. And the problem is, if you don't reach out, the problem not shared is a problem multiplied, I found personally. And it can definitely, in our minds, we overthink. If we don't have anyone to speak to, we find ourselves making it even worse in our heads. So here are five key benefits to seeking help as support for your burnout. And I really do encourage that you do. There's other sections that I'll do when I talk about how to create safe spaces with your friends and family. But here are five key benefits to reaching out at all. So if you're spiraling, if you find yourself overthinking, if you find yourself reaching emotional exhaustion and not feeling like you can speak to someone, these are five reasons why you should. Number one is acknowledging your needs. Now, we have genuine needs, like I mentioned, one of them being a need for connection. And I'll speak about another one in a moment. But it's actually a sign of help to seek help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness, to seek help. I feel like there's an element of this idea of if you need help, you're weak, when actually there's no evidence to show that. Like, if you're going to war, you don't do it by yourself. If you're helping people, you bring people around, people you care about, and all do an intervention, for example, to help somebody. You don't have to do it all yourself. And actually, it's actually a sign of strength because it shows vulnerability to be able to risk someone hurting you, for example, which is one of the fears, I guess, of reaching out to people. You risk someone betraying your trust. But if you don't give people the option or the opportunity to risk betraying your trust, you also don't give them the opportunity to build it with you, because it's only when you give people the opportunity to betray you and they don't, that trust is built, that you realize you can rely on people. And if you don't feel like you rely on people, the question is, have you built enough trust with them? And if you haven't, it's maybe because you haven't given the opportunity to be vulnerable. So recognize it's okay to ask for help and support when you're experiencing burnout. People want to be there for you. I implore you to actually think about that. Look at the people in your contact list and actually put yourself in their shoes, not yours. Would the opportunity, would they jump at the opportunity to be there for you for a change? Probably yes, especially the ones you're there for all the time. Maybe they don't know how. Maybe you've never given them the chance to. Actually think about what role we play in creating the safe spaces for people to be there for us. Number two is building a support system. Now, this is where we talk about different kinds of support, right? So it's good to surround yourself with friends, family, colleagues, even, but also professionals who can offer understanding, empathy, and guidance. Now, it's important to understand who is who, right? And what you need in that moment. Do you need understanding in that moment? Do you need empathy in that moment? Do you need guidance? Do you need help? Are you looking for a solution, or are you looking to be held, for example? And who is the best person for that? So we mentioned acknowledging your needs earlier on. Sometimes you just need someone to be there for you. Sometimes you need a solution, an answer. You haven't been able to come up with one yourself. Sometimes you need a safe space to just vent and shout and scream, and not feel alone, right? When you understand what the need actually is, then you got to ask yourself, who is the best person within my network to get that need filled from, right? So who's the really good listener? Okay, who is the person who is really good at solving problems? Who is the person who is really good at connecting me with people if I need further help? Think about who is the best person to solve, to meet that need for you, and then go and communicate with them. Let them know, it's like, hey, listen, could I get 7 minutes of your time? I need something. Let me know when you're available. Simple as that. Sometimes we make things a lot more complicated and difficult within our heads, when actually the problem is simple. Maybe not easy, because we have to go, get over ourselves. Basically, we have to go over the things that mentally challenge us, that mentally create barriers for ourselves. But once we do get over that, we realize actually it was actually quite simple. So number one was acknowledging your needs as a benefit. Number two is building a support system. Number three is validating your feelings. One of the things that happens if we don't communicate with people about what we're going through is you know, um, we can feel to ourselves, maybe this isn't real. Maybe I'm over exaggerating. Maybe I'm going, through the roof on this. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm alone in this. No one else could possibly feel this. Maybe there's a problem with me for feeling this, right? All those things can happen in our minds if we don't speak to other people who can turn around and say, actually, no, that's actually normal, And then we're like, oh, snap, you feel it too. And then we feel seen as a result, right? So discussing your struggles and emotions with a trusted individual, someone you've built that relationship with, can help validate your experience, and it can give you a sense of comfort and release. Just that. Imagine going through something and then realizing you're not the only one who's gone through it. So that means there's nothing wrong with you. What release that will give. It won't solve the problem straight away, but the fact that you know that other people have gone through it will make you feel not so alone. And not speaking to people would rob you of that feeling. And when you're going through it, sometimes there's different elements to it, right? So there's a stressor, which is the thing that's bothering you, but there's a stress, the feeling in your body. If you don't feel like either of them are valid, it can even add even more pressure, even more discomfort to the feeling, and it will make it worse. So number 4 is gaining perspective, and this is an element to add on to the previous one, right? So talking to others about your burnout can offer insight. What ends up happening is, and I don't know if you've experienced this, right? Sometimes if you're working on something, you can be so close to the problem that you don't see the solution. They have a saying, you don't you don't see the forest for the trees. You look in so much at the detail, you don't see the actual bigger picture. And sometimes it takes someone outside of it to help you give a different perspective and ask you questions, because they're not so emotionally connected to the issue as you. So they may have a little bit more, what's what I'm looking for, more of a logical view to it. And they might be able to see something that you don't, so they can offer new insights, an alternative solution that you haven't thought about, a new question that can help you reframe, right? That can give you a different perspective on how to cope and how to overcome the challenge, right? And so speaking out to people and seeking their help can really help in that respect as well. The last one is accessing resources. So there's a lot of help out there, and what we do is we choose actually not to. What we in our head, it doesn't sound like that though. It sounds more like, oh, there's no help out there, or I can't bother people, or I don't know where to go, right? That's what our minds tell us. And when we think like that, we end up not seeking it at all, which means that we never find it. If you're going through this, I encourage you to ask yourself, where can I get help? Instead of telling yourself there is none. Once you think, where can I get help? Then it forces your brain to find an answer to that. And then you might realize that actually there's various support options around you, right? There might be therapy, counseling, support groups, online communities that help you connect with others who may be going through it. And then you feel even more validated, and you feel even more seen. And they may have similar experiences and be able to share the nuances and that might help you, right? Help you find the help you need. And for example, if that's not the place, they may know someone near you, or someone who's worked for them, or a framework or a strategy that's worked for them, which isn't as widely used or connected. And only the people who are going through it will be able to tell you certain things, right? So those are the 5 key benefits of seeking help. I'm going to go through them again. Number 1 is acknowledging your needs. Number 2 is building a support system. Number 3 is validating your feelings. Number 4 is gaining perspective. And number 5 is accessing resources. Now, there's 3 types that I could help you with, that I offer. 1 is a WhatsApp community. 2 is LinkedIn audio rooms that I do every week. Well, there's only 2 more left, one on this Wednesday and one the Wednesday after. And then 3 is coaching programs, 12 weeks. I do them one-to-one and group. So if you want to know a little bit more about this, book a call. Speak to me about it. There's a link that I can share. There's a QR code right here, or the one in the corner up at the top. And it's 30 minutes with me, and we'll just talk about it. And I'll let you know what we'll do, like a little framework in the session. We'll do a little exercise, but it's just a chat. It's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very casual, right? But if you need further help, I've mentioned the 3, and I can give you the links to those in the chat as well. Yeah. So whatever happens, don't do this alone. If there's one thing I want you to come away from this live, is that if you're going through it, speak to somebody. Don't allow yourself to go through it alone. You often make it worse, but then also you make it worse with the partnerships you have, your connections. You'll be surprised how fast relationships can dwindle without communication. And then you get to the idea, like I said, when they find out what you have been going through, and they might feel hurt, just as hurt as you would feel if someone went through something and didn't come to you. So make sure you don't go through it alone. Find someone that can help. Speak to them, reach out. And if you can't find anyone, start with me. I hope whatever you're going through, you can deal with it, because you can. It's only counts that